Dear listener, happy Monday. Time for our Monday meeting. Good morning, showbiz. How are you?
Hold the press, stop the phone, whatever you have to do, because I've had some very important audio come my way over the weekend. Good to see you, radio, and it involves you. So people, when they can't get to you, they come to me. Am I right in hearing that you were a contestant on a radio show this week? Is that correct?
I don't know where you're getting this audio from. Where has this come to you from?
So some audio has come across my desk of a high-profile contestant on an ABC radio competition.
Well, it's not me then.
Let's roll the tape.
Okay, let's see who we've got next. I think, look, I'm hoping Wade knows the answer to this one. Wade, do you know how to answer this question? It's close to midnight and something evil's what?
Lurking in the dark.
Thank you so much, Wade. And I have some wonderful news for you. You have just won the quiz.
Hooray!
Congratulations. So,
Thank you.
No, thank you, Wade. Yes, Michael Jackson's Thriller, the lyric was, it's close to midnight and something evil's lurking in the dark. That's the final question. If you hold on the line, Julia, my producer, will get you your prize pack sent out forthwith. Well done, and have a wonderful evening, Wade.
Thank you, you too.
Oh, I will do just that.
Okay, so here's the backstory of that. So what happened was I literally left my home to nick to the servo. I got in the car, and as I do, I just flick around, and I hear the question come on. And I'm like, he sounds like he's begging for callers. I'm going to ring in. I was in and out of there in a minute, and I had a prize. And the worst thing was, it's one of those quizzes, right, where it's like, I think like 10 or 20 questions. And if you get one wrong, you drop out. So the guy before me had answered like 5 in a row, and he got the last one wrong. I just swoop in and claim the prize back.
A couple of things. Always a punter, always a fan. I famously once said to a co-host, I said, you're just a glorified punter. Like, if you weren't working,
or a prize pig in my case.
Yeah, if you weren't working here, you'd be ringing me trying to get on the radio to talk. Good to hear.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're a great caller. You're a great guest. You were upbeat. You were vibey. You're what every radio host wants, and people should take note. That's how you win a competition.
All right, we'll put up a prize pack full of a sticker and a fridge magnet, and I'm anyone's. I'll do it.
Wade's your guy.
Oh, God, what a big week last week, eh?
Gee, we had some good guests, and just really appreciative of everyone that's lining up to come on the show. We know we're taking time out of your day, but I know that people all over Australia are listening, getting their 15 minutes a day of their radio fix, and it's just great to have so many different topics and so many different high-profile guests joining us on the show.
Yeah, well, we had Duncan Campbell last week, but so did another podcast and another website. And
Look, Duncan was dominating the news last week, former head of content of ARN, and you chatted to him. What were your takeaways for a start on your chat with him?
Well, one thing I thought was, you could listen to him and have the reaction of, why didn't you do anything about it? But what I thought he articulated, and whether you agree with his logic or not, what he articulated was the challenge of doing anything about it and how the lengths you had to go to get things done. The thing that surprised me the most, and he said he was honest, so I have to take him at his word, was he didn't know who his next Kiss Sydney breakfast show would be. I mean, every radio person in the country has been thinking of that question for the last, year and a bit. Not even before the blow up, like what would happen if they go. So I was surprised he doesn't have a team in mind. I've got a team in mind.
It was interesting to hear the different incarnations of Duncan doing the rounds. And so I heard him on this podcast. I heard him on your old podcast. You would have had to listen to that. How did you feel both having the same guest? Similar questions?
It was an interesting programming task, actually. I mean, I'm enjoying programming again. I mean, not that I could out-program Craig and Irene. What I had to do was think like all programmers should, is what do the audience want? I recorded Duncan on the Monday and I couldn't play it till midnight on the Wednesday. And I didn't tell anyone what time it was coming out, but I did see that Game Changer said 6 a.m. So I thought, right, great. Well, I'll do it at midnight, 12:01. So I hit publish at 12:01, stayed up late, hit publish. I could have probably manually scheduled it, but I want to make sure it went. And also I sent the episode to a few people beforehand. I put a thing on Instagram saying, if you want to hear it. And I got a great response off Instagram, and people did want to hear it before it got published, and they're in the P1s. So another advantage of the P1s is you do sometimes get to hear things first. But I did enjoy the back and forth. Irene and I actually traded some text messages last week about just the competition between each other and how we're going about it. But it's a programming challenge, right? Like with everything with content.
So how do you feel programming against your old show?
It's interesting because I've got a personal relationship with them, but that's everyone in radio, right? You usually know who's working across the road. How do I feel about it? I enjoy the fun and games of it. Like, I'm not going to get into dirty tricks, and hopefully they don't either. But, it's all fair in love and war. Like, I actually thought, I didn't think I had Duncan as an exclusive, but I knew he hadn't recorded anyone else yet. And I had that thought in my mind is, do I try and tease it early, which I could, but I couldn't use any of his answers. So that's why I put up a promo that basically had me asking questions and none of his answers. And I really enjoyed the back and forth and the interesting how it played out on the socials as well. So yeah, I enjoyed it. But listen, it wasn't the most interesting story of last week, I don't think. I think the most interesting story was Karl Stefanovic, yet again. How's this TV guy getting all the radio press, right? He does 2 radio shows and then he's out. I feel completely sorry for Eddie. I feel like Eddie has wanted to do this show with Karl, has signed up on that basis, and 2 shows in, he hasn't got him. Did you have a listen on Friday? How was Eddie?
Yeah, he sounded deflated. He sounded deflated. I mean, I'm an all-in Eddie fan. Like, I love
same.
Eddie. I love the hot breakfast. I like him on the TV. I'd listen to anything he puts out. I just like what he does. He's a showman. Yeah, he's over the top, and he puts on the mayo, but that's Eddie, and I like that about him. And the first break, he sounded deflated, and the fact that he didn't address the elephant in the room was awkward. Come on, mate, we're all waiting for it. Like, what's going on? I know it was addressed later in the show, but first break on the show, he's doing a break with Georgia Love, his newsreader, on the Taylor Swift wedding.
Wow, he would have loved that.
Pretty sure he didn't sign up for that. So the problem is that it's not the show he signed up for.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been there where you go to a market or you go to a station expecting A and then getting B. The difference is he's so much more high profile than anyone else. I mean, I see it on other stations around town, Jimmy and Nath on 2 Day. That was the show. And that show changed. Now it's Nath and Emma. It's not the show they signed up for. But they'll make it work. But it's not where your intentions lied. It's not what you went into it with or what you started with. And he went into it going, hey, this is going to be 2 alpha male, high profiles on the radio. Eddie can do a show on his own. He doesn't need Karl. But he wanted to do it. You could tell they were friends.
Yeah, and it was the Melbourne-Sydney equivalent, right? Like if you're trying to think who's the Eddie of Sydney, Eddie everywhere, it's probably Karl. He'd be in the top 3 of those names. And vice versa. Who's the Karl of Melbourne? Well, Eddie sort of fills that role. It's interesting to me that it played out so publicly. So with a lot of those changes, as you know, that happen behind the scenes, someone's on a breakfast show on radio or wherever, and then the next week they're not. And we know what's going on in the industry. They've either signed another contract or there's been a fight amongst the team or whatever's happened. But I reckon ARN needed to probably address it in a more front-on way, only because, and I feel dreadfully sorry for them. They've started this show, they've done the big launch, and then you'd kind of say through no fault of their own that they're stuck without one of the team. But everyone was talking about Karl all through the Sydney media, all through the week. So it wasn't hard to work out that Karl was in the public domain as being a guy that used to be on the Today Show. Now he's out. His stories were the top click stories on all the news.coms and Daily Mails. So there was a moment here where obviously they weren't going to talk to him. And I'm not saying they make a big deal of it, but like you said, Cume at 12 o'clock, people might have been interested, like, oh, okay, I'll get to hear from him. And it just didn't get mentioned until I think pretty much the closer of the show. And so you kind of go, look, Karl is a big enough name and he's going to be fine on his own. Eddie is not used to not being in control, I don't think. Like if you think about what makes him so good, is that he's the ringmaster in more ways than one. And he's much more than that, of course. But he assembles a cast. He decides the topics. He knows when to set someone up so they can take a win or take a fall. He's in charge. And I think it's the first time I've ever heard Eddie on TV or radio or on a podcast where it felt like his hands were tied. He couldn't really do what he wanted to do. If it was up to Eddie, I'm sure he would have addressed it right out of the bat, and he probably would have got Karl on to say hello or got a voice memo or something.
So how does that work when Eddie's producing the show? It's not made in-house. It's made by Eddie's own company.
Well, my understanding is it's an ARN show. So Eddie might be doing the production side, but you can see it's in ARN studios. I mean, I assume now the show will move to Melbourne. Like Eddie was flying to Sydney, Tony Tonali was flying to Sydney by the look of it. That might have just been a first month thing anyway, but it makes much more sense now. They just do it out of the Melbourne studios every Friday. I would expect Eddie to get a couple of regulars on board. He'll go for someone like the Eddie and Footy Show formula, and it's successful and it works, is one offsider who's got the comic chops and one offsider who's got a little bit more of a industry credibility sport chops. And your suggestion of Jane Kennedy, I still think is an awesome one. I mean, imagine Jane coming in every Friday and it's Eddie and Jane. At a minimum, right? And they're going to get some funny guests and stuff like that. I would absolutely listen to that. And the only risk I think for Gold is it's a show now that's a once a weeker and it's on a music time slot traditionally.
See, people keep saying that. I don't care about that. That part of the argument doesn't interest me or affect me at all. Yes, it's in a music time slot. You're still getting music.
Yeah. But I think it's more how you gain an audience when they're used to something else. I'll give you an example, right? So Eddie comes on his own, and through no fault of Eddie or Carl or Gold, it's a less interesting show than Eddie and Carl, just because, you wanted to hear the two conversations. Now you got Eddie talking about, as you said, Taylor Swift's wedding. So the risk is someone who came and said, I really want to hear these guys talk, goes, you know what, I'd actually rather go and hear the Gin Blossoms on Triple M. Like, there's just this kind of risk there that happens. A way they could alleviate that, I think, is if they stripped out the 12 to 3 bit and made it a 12 to 1 show, right? Have it as a lunch thing. I don't know if we need 3 hours, to be honest. I think we could do it in 1 or even 2 and have Eddie and someone else and drop the song count just for that lunchtime period a little. So maybe there's 4 songs in the hour. Maybe one of them's live at Eddie's desk, that kind of stuff. It also becomes a podcast. It's a watchable show. I mean, no one's going to sit and watch 3 hours of that show, right? No matter, they say it's a screen show, but no one's going to sit there, maybe apart from you. But you would still listen to it on the radio, knowing you. But I think that a 1 hour show where there's like a big name guest who co-hosts each week, great. I think that sounds really good. And it doesn't take away too much from it. 3 hours would suit Carl and Eddie together because it's a long lunch, but 1 hour of Eddie on Friday at midday doing one topic, one guest, couple of live songs, that sounds like a show to me.
What it opens up for me is the conversation about people that aren't on the radio anymore that we still want on the radio. So what does Australian radio have to do to convince Jane Kennedy to come back on the radio?
Well, that's a great question. Yeah,
Kennedy Malloy was a great show. It was one of the best drive shows. And as much as I have loved Mick Malloy since The Late Show, like I'm an all-in Mick Malloy fan, Jane Kennedy was the star of that show.
Yeah, she was good. And I think Jane is... Jane's one of those unicorns, right? You can kind of throw her in any situation. I mean, we seen her on the screen. We know she does a lot of work behind the scenes. She's great on air. She's a radio listener. Like I think I remember her telling me once she goes to bed with like a earpiece in, like on her little transistor radio. She still does that. I mean, probably through.
What do you reckon she listens to? Who's she listening to at night?
Well, I reckon she used to listen to Bruce and Phil on 3AW. Would be my guess.
We all did.
Yeah,
we all love 3AW, Bruce and Phil. It was the best show of all time.
But I think she's a big radio listener. So I think that, to get Jane back, I think the deal would have to make sense in terms of her other commitments or whatever else is going on in her life. But I think that Jane fits Gold in the same way that Amanda Keller fits Gold. Jane can be the Melbourne version of Amanda Keller because she's well known. Instantly hear her name, people roughly know who she is and what she looks like and what she's about. So I actually think to get her back, you would just have to pitch it as like, we want you to come in and bring a one segment idea. Eddie will chat to you about this. I mean, reverse it up a bit. Imagine Eddie and Jane together last Friday for 1 hour. First 10 minutes is Taylor Swift, where Jane is talking about how she's so much into what's going on over there, and Eddie is going, oh, this feels like it's crackers, right? So that's the dynamic you'd want to hear. Not a newsreader saying, here's what's happening, Eddie. You want to hear Jane being enthusiastic and loving it and being Jane. Then you've got, someone from the Choir Boys or whoever doing a live song. It's hot breakfast light, and I think that's what they could do really well because we know it works.
I'll put another name forward, and someone who I want back on Australian radio is Kate Langbrook. And it's the same era.
Yeah.
I used to love it when Kate and Jane were on the panel together. I've been watching Kate's podcast lately, which is a video podcast, and I can't get enough of her either. She's also kind of like the hippie version of Jane Kennedy in a nice way. So intelligent, so well spoken. What she says has value. And if you can't get Jane, well, we're getting Kate. Like Kate should come out of retirement. Like as I said, 3 hours a week. Come on, guys. And Eddie would just love. I mean, Melbourne royalty. It would just prop up the show, I think.
Yeah, it would make much sense. So what Gold need is someone who you can see them on a billboard and it says Friday 12 o'clock. Tune in. You go, yep, I will. Thanks very much. As simple as that. Hey, speaking of big names. You've been really busy, as you said to me in a text message. What did you say? I'm not here for a haircut. No, what was your phrase? I'm not here to what?
Yeah, that's about right. I said we're not here to pash spiders. I mean, we are punching out daily content. That's what we're doing. And the guest list, the lineup at the back door is growing. So if you want a quick sneak peek of what's coming up this week, Rob McKnight's joining me tomorrow from McKnight Tonight, the TV talk show. We're going to ask the question, which radio talent does the Today Show need to hone in on to replace Carl on the TV? So there's three.
Which radio talent you think?
Yeah, there's 3 big radio names that we think that they should actually go towards. Really should be poaching from radio. So there's some big radio names that would do an excellent job of filling in for Carl. So we'll talk to him. We're also penciled in to talk to Corey Parker, former Brisbane Broncos. So from Broncos to broadcast, he does the breakfast show on SEN. And so we're penciled to talk to him, although he's on holidays at the moment. We'll catch up with him. State of Origins this week. And so he's doing a 5-day-a-week breakfast show. 5 years ago, he was captaining the Broncos playing in grand finals. Like, how do you transition from a really big career on the field then into broadcast? You know, how did you learn your craft? What did you do? We'll talk to him. Do we tell the other name we've got coming up? Do we keep that a secret?
Yeah, do it. No, do it.
Richard Stubbs is coming up on the Stubbsy's coming up on the show.
Oh, radio royalty.
Radio royalty. I think if you were to do a Mount Rushmore of radio, you'd have Stubbsy up there because not only was he the king of 3XY, he was on the XY Zoo. So he's conquered AM, he conquered FM breakfast, then he conquered the ABC. He was on the TV. He now does podcasts. Everything he does turns to gold. We could learn so much from Stubbsy. And you talk about bringing someone back to Australian radio. If Stubbsy came back, I'd listen to him tomorrow.
Yeah, same, mate. Well, good work. That's great. All coming up this week on the Quarter Hour. And last thing I'm going to say is go Queensland.
Absolutely. This week's going to be awesome. Don't ring me on Thursday. I'm going to the game on Wednesday night.
Are you? Oh,
yeah, I am.
Good. Look forward to it.